Whoa, Vulgrin, what do you think you are doing? Survival Hunter, the best spec in WoW? Are you crazy? No one plays survival, and no one likes it either. Yep, these are opinions I've heard before. I'm well aware of the fact that many players view survival as a terrible mistake by Blizzard, up there with the Seed Pod, WoD, and oh god, not fucking Magni again. But to be honest with you, when it comes to that view on survival, well, Jonathan Frakes summed it up best.
Not this time. Wrong. Not this time. Not this time. No way. We got you. Not a chance.
Now I know that this channel isn't exactly known for its hard-hitting, evidentially supported opinions on classes. Rogues just magpies with a Columbine fetish who can't help the fact that no one likes them. Demon Hunters are played exclusively by weebs and children and therefore cannot be taken seriously, and Death Knights might actually be evil, but it's not by their own choice, and anyway, they move so slowly that they're practically harmless because you can just walk slowly away from them. But if you give me a few minutes of your time, my hope is that I can change your mind about the Survival Hunter, and who knows, maybe you'll even give it a try. Where to begin? Well, let's explain how we got here in the first place. Now, for the longest time, all DPS specs in WoW followed one of two clear paths. They were either ranged or melee focused. Yeah, the lines blurred a little when it came to your shamans and druids, but there was always a clear ranged or melee focus to the spec in question. In the case of the Star Chickens, it basically meant turning into a bear to stop your cheeks getting busted by an angry warrior before proceeding to cyclone them and then point and laugh. As for the shamans, well, occasionally popping off a lightning bolt and screaming unlimited power at your monitor isn't really what I'm talking about here. The Survival Hunter, by comparison, always was a hybrid with a bit of an identity crisis, a holdover from the early idea that you would attack both at ranged and in melee, utilising both kinds of weapons. Abilities like Wing Clip and Raptor Strike were baseline abilities for the Hunter, let's not forget that. The only issue was, well, it fucking sucked, and you always got outshone by your big bro marksman hunters. In short, the melee aspect of being a hunter was goddamn embarrassing, and you'd probably get your ass handed to you by a fucking Tau if you engaged them in close combat. Gradually, over time, the spec became increasingly based around ranged combat in line with the other two hunter specs, with a focus on special shots and traps, but it always seemed to lack a concrete identity for many people. That is, until Legion. Just imagine the scene. For the first time in years, developers were allowed free reign to completely overhaul classes left and right. Shamans and DKs are looking incredible, and everyone's getting pats on the back, until one dude who probably had a picture of Rambo on his wall at home had a little too much of the wacky backy one night, and decided to completely change the Survival Hunter, from a ranged spec much like its colleagues, to a melee one complete with a Fists of Fury knockoff for its artifact ability. Nice. A bold move, scary for many long-time hunters who had grown accustomed to the simple rule that hunters use bows. And really, that tradition meant that it was always going to be an uphill battle for the new survival, and it is still to this day. The Legion product was very much a work in progress, an experiment, an admirable attempt at something new, which turned out to be a bit of a failure. Except, it wasn't. Now I said that all specs are either ranged or melee, right? But why? Why does the game have to be as simplistic as that? The honest answer is that it doesn't, and for a survival hunter, it isn't. The more you look at the survival toolkit, the more you begin to see that this isn't simply a melee spec. This is a true hybrid, capable of performing at ranged and up close, complete with movement abilities designed to quickly close gaps and create them, and cooldowns which allow you to use key melee spells as if you were a ranged spec. In short, survival isn't a gimmick spec with an identity crisis, it's a fucking Swiss Army knife. And let's talk about that toolkit for a moment, because it's absolutely bonkers. Your defensives are actually fun to use, because for them to be effective you have to use your brain. Aspect of the turtle is only useful if you've got a follow-up plan in mind. You can't just pop it when you're getting beaten up and then start blasting like a fucking droider car. Yes, I'm talking about you, paladins. You've got to have an exit strategy in mind. And who knows, if you're actually good at the game, like say Soulscape for example, you could turn it into a masterful kiting job, bait 2 or 3 people to follow you, and then pull off the classic feign death camouflage maneuver to go full predator on them. Or if you're more at my skill level, you could alternatively pop turtle and then hide in the nearest house and wait for everything to blow over.
I just got too much damage.
God shit.
Get that Russian fucking...
I'm hiding in the house. I'm actually gonna survive by hiding in the house, I think. That's fucking hilarious. What? It's called survival for a reason, right? As for offense, it's quite simple. You send in your attack chicken. If that doesn't work, reach for the C4. And if that doesn't work, well, you can always throw some traps at them. And hey, when doesn't that work? The point is that you've got some serious options to tackle all manner of different opponents and situations. And to cap it all off, thanks to the unpruning of Shadowlands, when your enemies run away from you like the cowards they are, thinking that they're safely out of range because you're a melee, you can take them out with a crisp kill shot, leaving them in shock, screaming, Don't get me wrong, it isn't all sunshine and rainbows. For example, Mongoose Bite is a talent, despite the fact that it's mandatory in all situations. It could be baseline, it should be baseline, and the fact that it isn't is as outrageous as being made a member of the Jedi Council and not being made a master.
How can you be on the council and not be a master?
And there's always the typical issues which plague all hunters, namely the fact that your pet has the attention span of a 10-year-old demon hunter and seems determined to abandon you every fucking minute like he's Wilson from Castaway. But none of that stops this from feeling like a complete breath of fresh air compared to most other classes, and one which really doesn't deserve the negative reputation in my opinion. Which brings us to the real question: why is it that survival is derided by so many people? Well, the reason why I think that the survival hunter has such a polarised reputation is that its strengths only really become obvious in PvP scenarios. In PvE, that ability to jump in and out of melee seamlessly doesn't really help much if you say, fighting Sludge Fist, get chained and end up getting your mate pulverised worse than Garrosh's character arc because you're hopping around like a fucking kangaroo. And honestly, as somebody who did the big boy mythic raiding as a BM hunter in the past, the truth is that no sane raid leader would prefer to take a survival spec hunter over BM, arguably the most useful spec in the game for raiding. A lot of that amazing toolkit just doesn't really shine in the same way in PvE, and so it's understandable why someone who doesn't do much PvP would think that survival is just a bit obsolete. But finally, the real question about looks and theme. Is it cool, I hear you ask? Is the spec appealing for someone new to the game who cares about the identity of their character? That's a valid question. Does survival really rank against your Chad warriors and your bubble boys? Look man, ultimately that's a choice for you to make, but suffice to say, you're a dude with a massive spear and you go into battle alongside monstrous beasts, or a monkey named after your best friend in my case. Of course it's cool. All you have to do is make sure that you play your hunter the Vulgrin way. Play an orc, dress like Rexar and wear a beast mask on your face, and devise a clever macro so that every time you harpoon yourself into a new enemy, you also slash yell,
I'm Batman.
If you do that, well, you just can't lose. And there we have it guys, why I love the survival hunter so much. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, please consider subscribing to the channel. I've done a lot of similar videos to this, and I'd like to do more. Remember to turn on notifications so that you are always reminded of your terrible decision to subscribe to the channel. It'll be worth it, I promise. That's all for now friends, have a good day and I hope to see you in another video very soon. Bye bye.